you all. Waterbox Live here on Wednesday evening. If you guys haven't already, smash that like button, hit the subscribe button.
Yep.
And because it's right next to the subscribe button, there's a little notification bell. Hit that too, because we are here all the time.
Don't want to miss anything we're doing. Today we are talking about the Fish Only 220 we have at our main office. I'm going to give you an overview on the fish that are in there and also your maintenance that would be for a Fish Only. So it's going to be a nice look. It's been a month or two since we've checked in on that one.
Yeah,
so
cool.
Good check-in. Let's get started. And we're back.
Welcome back.
All right, so.
Joining me today is my co-host Stacy, by the way.
Hi.
Yeah, Jess is out for the. Actually, she's gonna be out for a while.
Yeah. I think until hair lightens or something. I don't know. There's a dye your hair at home mishap. My hair's really dark, so I had dark hair for a while, and that's the way it is.
So she is. Just FYI, it's Stacy. Okay, guys, it's not Jess.
Rich is renaming me while I have dark hair. It's almost black. It's crazy. Yes. Make sure you engage in the comments, ask questions, answer, make friends.
Yes, make friends in the comments.
Because we are giving away 2 Waterbox t-shirts at the end of the stream. So super comfortable. I love, like, they're my favorite shirt to wear.
Yeah.
And we'll be giving 2 of those away later.
Cool.
Awesome. So make sure you hit that like button. And roughly 2 months ago, we tore down the Dream Build 220.6 that is at our main office. That thing was going for 2-3 years. Beautiful, full-blown reef. Tore it down, moved all that stuff over here to the new studio, and we turned it into a fish only.
Yeah.
Something a little bit lower maintenance and just kind of pretty to look at the main office. And we even let each of the staff that's there pick out a fish, their favorite fish they wanted to go in. They got names, you know, all of that good stuff. So we're going to take a look at.
I love the names of those fish.
Yes, there's a couple new ones, so
yes.
I don't think you know their names.
I don't. Oh,
okay.
God.
So we're going to take a look at the fish that are over there, and I was like, I guess it would be now the Dream Build Fish Only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still a Dream Build.
Yes. It's beautiful, nice and clean, no corals, none of that, just straight fish only. Love this tank. All right, so here he was in the Dream Build. This is our Australian Harlequin Tusk. Named him the Godfather because he's the only one that survived the move and stayed in that tank. As you see, they're actually pretty docile. They have these big, beautiful blue teeth. They look mean. They're not. He's probably the biggest wimp in that whole tank.
Yeah.
He hides from everybody.
Scaredy cat.
Yeah. He eats big, meaty stuff. He, you know, will eat any inverts, gets pretty big, so you know you need at least, I'd say, 150, 180 gallon tank. But they are shy in comparison to a lot of your predator type fish.
One of my favorite fish, by the way.
Yeah, so he has a cave that he hides in, and if you look at him wrong, he goes and hides in there. Pretty much sure then he fish like a third of his size that's in there bullies him. Like, he's just a sweetie. And most of the ones I've ever come across have always been really nice and docile. Yeah. Surprising to how they look.
There's a couple of variations of this fish too. So if you guys are looking to get one, there are some that are a little bit less colorful. You got to specifically look, I think, for the Australian.
The Australian is the brightest color one for sure. This one here is a bicolor angel named Wallaby. This is considered a dwarf angel, but one of the bigger ones. It gets to be about 6 or so inches, does need 70 gallons plus. Angelfish like to have lots of rock area to swim and caves just to keep them feeling comfortable. They need an algae-based diet to stay healthy. So you see them, they'll pick around the rocks for algae, but a super active, outgoing fish. It's a nice addition. Pretty much any angelfish is a great addition to an aquarium, and pretty much all of them eat coral, so even better for a fish only.
Yeah, for sure.
And I like the striking pattern difference.
That's one of the coolest things about a fish only for me is the ability to keep these kinds of angels with, you know, without them tearing up your corals.
Angels are such a beautiful group of fish, and you really can't have them in a reef tank for the most part. But the yellow and blue is super bright on this fish. And I've come to find out that yellow is a big color theme from our office. Like, this is a newer guy, dog-faced puffer. His name is Pudge because when he eats, his belly gets absolutely huge and he's pudgy.
Emily, did you name that fish?
No, Angela did. That's Angela's fish. So dog-faced puffer named that because they resemble a dog a lot of times, and they have the personality like it. They'll come up, they'll wag their body at you. They are messy eaters. You have to have a good big tank, good filtration.
You want to know something funny? My daughter Kate came into the office the other day, and she said, "Oh, a dog face."
She knew that one?
Yeah, she remembered it, I think, from when Angela had one in her tank.
Wow, they are so adorable.
I was like, how did you remember that?
They have probably the sweetest face of all the puffers. They get big, 12, 13 inches, need a big tank. They do also need to crunch on shells and stuff to keep their teeth trimmed down or they will overgrow and it'll make it hard for them to eat. But it's little puppy dog eyes. And then they have their tail and they wrap it around themselves when they sit like a little doggy. Sorry, we love puffers around here. This is also a new one. This is Rich's fish.
Yep.
An Emperator Angel named Indigo.
I like it.
And this is probably one of the most recognized angel fish in the hobby. This is the juvenile form. It completely transforms into a different color pattern when it gets bigger. We don't have a picture of that right now. But look up Emperator Angel and you'll see the adult color and you'll definitely recognize it. Need a lot of algae in their diet, get huge, you know, like 15 inches.
Look how striking the pattern is, though.
And it's crazy to think that you bring in him on this size because he's small, and over the next few years, going to transition to 100% completely different looking.
Yeah.
It has long stripes, yellow on it, like all these other colors. Looks nothing like the juvenile form, and they're both absolutely beautiful.
I wish we could, Keenan, I don't know if at some point you could pull up a picture of one of those as an adult.
I'm sorry?
Of an Emperator Angel, an adult picture?
Once the video's over.
Okay. All right, Flame Hawk. Well, this one, his name is Chris Jr., named after, well, Chris at the office.
I love that. That's so funny.
It's his favorite fish. It's like his avatar, his icon for everything.
Every
so
time I
it's a
see one, I
perfect
think
fit.
of him.
They have a lot of personality, and they pretty much just stare at you and kind of judge you, I feel. Maybe kind of like Chris, I don't know. So see, you just sit on the rock, he's just like eyeballing you. They're always in your face.
He's like, what are you looking at?
Yeah, they don't have a swim bladder, so they perch and they like ride the flow. Like,
I
look
love
at
how his
him.
eyes, though, are going around like, huh,
Yes.
huh.
He's just judging. Like, they're perfectly reef safe. They'll eat small inverts, but it was one of those that we just kind of had in here. And everyone, as they grow up together, should be fine, even though he's not going to get as big as a lot of the other ones. But you can definitely have them in much smaller tanks. And they have a ton of personality. And it's cool that they don't swim.
Mm-hmm.
They hop and they glide around, and they judge you. We have a trio of Hennyokus Butterflies. They're called the Ashleys. I guess because, I don't know, they gang up on everybody.
They don't have names. They're named as a group.
They're as a group. And as you can see, they can be in groups, which is pretty cool because a lot of saltwater fish cannot be. They will get a top banner that's like nice and long and flowy. Mm. They do eat coral, sponges, that kind of stuff. And they're just a really nice, peaceful addition, but they do well in fish-only systems.
What is the fish that looks very similar to them? It's
the Moorish idol.
Yes, the one that you shouldn't keep.
Yes.
This is the good alternative, right?
This is the sustainable alternative to a Moorish idol. And Moorish idols have a very low survival rate.
Yeah. So
these ones have similar, I mean, it's not as complex, but very similar look. They're much more affordable. They do great in captivity. They live long term.
Yeah.
So definitely go with this. Do not get a Moorish idol. And we have Nuggy, a porcupine puffer. This is Emily's baby. She's been raising him since he was like the size of your fingernail, practically. And he got upgraded to the 220 and has been growing like crazy and is a fat pig. Seriously, you'll see later in a video. Yeah. Tons of personality. Pretty much he will always be up against the last where you are, as you can see. They have these beautiful big blue alien eyes.
I got another story I forgot until just now. When my daughter was looking at Nuggy, she did say chicken nugget. So she knew. My daughter's 3 years old, so she's remembering these little things from the office as she comes in. So I thought that was kind of cool.
That is adorable. Yeah, yeah, he's named after a chicken nugget because, you know. Messy. They need sharp things to chew their teeth on. They do get big. You need a 180, 200-gallon tank for them and a big old skimmer. Because you're going to see it, and we're going to have a feeding video at the end. The mess that this thing makes. He is the culprit of the main mess of the whole tank. So this is a chocolate tang with also a mimic lemon peel. Start out like a full bright yellow with a blue eye, and then they slowly transition into adult color that has like yellow, darker yellow, some blue on the fins. So they transition throughout their life. Full algae eater. You know, just make sure when you're mixing tangs to keep an eye out for any aggression. Don't mix the same type. Go for somewhat different body shapes, and they need a lot of algae in their diet and swimming space. You need 4 foot or larger for any tang, pretty much, because they like to swim. They'll get stressed and extremely territorial if they're not in a big enough tank.
Cool.
But yeah, to think that this thing starts out as 100% bright neon yellow.
Right.
And it looks like the lemon peel angelfish.
Right, as a juvenile.
As a juvenile.
As a younger. Yep. It's a nice looking tank. I feel like they're a little underrated.
They don't get a lot of attention. All right, so this is Humphreys. This is a Picasso trigger. Humphreys would not, as Keenan would say, swim still. So all of the video was completely blurry. Picasso triggerfish he's on crack. He was just like
Humphreys has ADHD.
Flying through the tank. Yeah. Yes. He would not stop. He was flying around the tank, couldn't even stay still for a second, and that's kind of his personality. Triggers are kind of hyperactive.
He looks kind of like a dope.
Yeah. So you get
long snout. I love it.
Stock photos of a trigger instead of Humphreys. You'll see him probably in the feeding video, but they definitely will eat inverts, can pick at corals, can be a little aggressive as they get bigger. So keep an eye on them. Definitely carnivore all the way.
It's a very striking fish. Such a cool pattern on it.
They have a lot of personality too, and they actually do like grunting sounds at you.
Really?
But he did not want to be on the camera today.
Sammy.
We got Sammy. This is a saddle Valentini puffer. He also was raised since a tiny little baby with Emily and is upgraded into the big tank. He's actually a sharp-nosed puffer, also known as a Toby. Not really what you think in the usual puffer shape or anything. These guys stay pretty small. Will eat inverts, big meat eaters. Otherwise, generally pretty peaceful. I think 4 or 5 inches, something like that.
Really?
Yeah. They don't get very big. So
that looks like some of the freshwater puffers, I feel like.
Yeah, kind of like that. But even if you have them in a smaller tank, which they're fine with, no crabs, no snails, they're going to eat their eyeballs and legs and stuff like that. So
nice.
Can't, it's hard. Like reef tanks, you have to have inverts, so having them in reef tanks would be kind of difficult. Powder brown tang named Ovaltine. I feel like someone at the office likes that drink. So they're very active, a lot of swimming space like any tangs. I really recommend 4 foot and up size. Really 125 or bigger is better. Needs algae diet. Can be a little bit of a, see, look at him, he's like, what you got? See, they're a little bit, they don't mess with each other, but they kind of will go up against each other on occasion, the 2 tangs will. I've learned that the powder brown has a bit of an attitude. So we actually had a fox face in here, and the powder brown had decided to bully him into a corner. And after, even after a week or 2 of him not leaving him alone, we did remove the fox face, and we'll get a larger one that can hold up against the powder brown. So Ovaltine has a little sass, and he just did not like that fox face. So. There we go. So here's your algae clip, which is for the angel and the tangs, and they're starting on there. And then watch that little nugget. Just watch them. Oh yeah. So everyone's getting some. They're kind of ripping it apart. And they just spits it everywhere. Spits it out everywhere. So every day the fish get their algae sheet for the angel and the tang is what's supposed to be for. Everyone else kind of gets in. Then we feed a mix of Rod's food, Predator blend, plankton, the krill plus, the fish only blends, that kind of stuff. And as you see, it becomes very messy. Fish onlys are very messy, especially if you have things like puffers, groupers, eels. They're not a clean system when it comes to feeding and the fish and stuff like that. So,
you guys noticed that shot, and it just occurred to me as we looked at that shot. This tank, like we said, has been up for 3 years. So if you guys don't know, 3 years ago, our 220.6 was a 230.6. It was roughly, I I think 7 millimeters difference in depth, and that's what changed the entire model.
Yeah. So we call it the 220.6, but it's really the OG 230.6.
Yeah.
But
it's pretty cool that we've had that tank up that long.
Here's
Yeah.
the Emperor adult.
Oh, okay. Here's
There you
the
go.
adult Emperor
What?
Angel. So that little blue one with the circle lines turns into this. It does take a few years. And a kind of an interesting fact is in captivity, when you get a juvenile, it may or may not fully transition to the adult color.
Huh.
Just because I don't know, it has to do with just free range space, just captive living. But like if you get one as a juvenile, it could go all the way. It could end up part way where you have some circles, some lines coming through, some colors, which is actually really cool looking. But you're never guaranteed, because it takes years and years, that it will actually make the 100% transition.
Interesting. I might have a problem with that.
Talk to the fish, not me. And about 3
years?
Probably 3
Couple
years,
years.
we'll talk about his coloring and see what you think.
No, that's cool.
So-
It's a striking fish. I mean, even as a juvenile up to an adult, really
It's
cool.
probably one of the most crazy changes from juvenile to adult, and how they do it. And then if you're bored, go online and just look at the transition, and you can find pictures that show juvenile and like through the years of how it changes. And it's really, really cool looking.
Yeah.
So
Jacob just asked if you dyed your hair.
Oh,
Jess.
he
This
missed-
is not
he missed-
Jess. This is Stacy.
he missed the beginning. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm renamed Stacy. I had a dye your hair at home mishap. I was going from medium to slightly dark brown. I now have black hair, and I can't do anything really about it.
It looks
so
nice. It looks nice, but I had to rename you.
I'm gonna have dark hair for a while, and during that time, Rich is going to call me Stacy. Everyone's caught up.
I can't take anything seriously, you guys.
No.
It's bad.
Yeah. So maintenance on a fish only is, I feel, easier.
Yeah.
It's very simplified, but we're going to go through just what we do to keep that tank clean. As you see, the water's crystal clear, the fish are very healthy, the sand is clean. What our regimen is, if you're thinking about doing a fish only, it really is much easier overall
For sure. 100%.
than a reef tank. So let's check that out.
I did
So-
see some good questions there below. So again, you guys, if you don't see it on these slides, post some questions below. We'll take them here after this.
So daily is very similar to the same as a reef tank. You're going to feed the fish. We feed a mix of rods food, seaweed blend, fish only blend, predator blend, Pacific plankton, and krill plus. So that means all the carnivores plus our herbivores that are in there. Got some nice big meaty food for them as well. Basically just look at the fish every day. You're going to do this, I think, anyway in a reef tank. Make sure no one's biting each other, ripping fins. There's no marks on bodies. That could be bacterial problems or fighting.
Yeah.
Look for parasites. Make sure they're swimming, and at feeding time, everyone comes out and eats and looks very, very active and happy. If you don't have an ATO unit, which you should, but if you don't, gonna go ahead and top off every day as well. So once or twice a week, change your filter socks. I personally say twice a week at least. Once a week is absolute minimum. Really, if you want to, you can wait till it becomes clogged, but it probably won't take that full week, especially in a fish only. There's a lot of waste and a lot of food mass and stuff.
Yeah.
And the more often you change it, you're removing the waste from the system, the tank's going to stay cleaner. We're going to fill the ATO reservoir. Depending on how big it is, once or twice a week, you probably have to fill your ATO reservoir so it's topping off for you. And then clean the inside of your glass once or twice a week, roughly. Just to make sure it's nice and clear. The longer you leave the algae, the harder it's going to be to clean it off. Every single month, you're going to change the carbon to phosphate media. This is important for a dirty, dirty tank with dirty fish.
Right.
It's going to help with the nutrient control. You really want phosphate to stay as low as possible because it will grow a lot of algae with that extra waste in there. And then test your water. Nitrate, phosphate, and salinity really once a month is all you got to do.
I love that.
Yeah, you can't say that for a reef tank, but really once a month, check those 3 things. If it's established, if it's new, you'd still want to check ammonia and nitrate. And then usually wipe down the sump area and equipment of salt creep while you're doing kind of just general maintenance. Rinse out any sponges in the sump area. Losing my voice. Rinse out the sponges in the sump area, build up and debris, and then a water change. Usually 20 to 30%. So for fish only once a month, you can just do a bigger one.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the smaller, more consistent ones like a reef tank. So you can really condense a lot of that. Some other things you want to do, clean out your sump, use a shop vac or something to get all the bird debris and stuff that'll settle in your sump every 3 to 6 months, just depending. And soak you clean your power heads and pumps. It's gonna keep them flowing really good. It's gonna make them last a lot longer. Same thing, every 3 to 6 months, do it on a big water change day. And we use the pump clean, which makes it a lot easier from CJ. There we go. Easy.
I saw a good question before they bring the questions up, because I don't know if you had it, but it's a really good one. Is how do you keep, like the rock and glass clean, et cetera, when you have a fish-only tank where maybe they're going to consume your invertebrates, et cetera?
Yeah, so I think the main thing is don't keep your lights on too long. So we kept the HYDRAs that were on the Dream build onto the fish only, which are the reef lights. They're a low percentage, and I also took it from 4 to 3. Mm-hmm. But I keep them at a low percentage and only a couple hours a day. The rest of the time is going to be more of a really light blue or very little white in that time period. The more light you give it, the more algae can grow. But also keeping the nutrients low, running that phosphate media and running that carbon regularly. A huge skimmer. We have a NYOS 220 on there. Yeah, NYOS 220. We've got, the reactor for the media and all that stuff. And I think that's going to help a ton. You've got to have a good sized skimmer.
So the phosphate buildup's a big problem, probably with all the feeding you're doing.
And the organics and stuff like that. Like that's going to promote algae. And then really once a month you do a big old water change, and it kind of guides you through. But also not overfeeding. They're messy, and they're going to be constantly looking at you to eat. So make sure okay, this is enough for each of them every day. Don't feed more than that. Because that's just more food in is more poop out. So. Yeah, it is a little bit harder though, because if you do come up with an algae issue, you can't just throw in a handful of crabs and snails and have it fixed. So keep it in mind. All right, we got questions.
Max says, I would like to get a Harlequin Tusk. Will it positively eat my inverts?
No, our Tusk, when he was in the reef tank, was in there with blood shrimp and cleaner shrimp. Okay, I can't tell you he won't. Ideally have the shrimp in before he is in. And then when he goes in, he's not going to see it as a new item.
It's not food getting dropped in from the top.
Right. It's not something new he's going to kind of look at. And, as long as he's well fed, most fish in a tank, a lot of times if they're fed well, they're lazy. They're not going to go hunt their own stuff. Yeah. Especially a Harlequin. They're super laid back.
I had a Harlequin Tusk years and years and years ago. And on occasion, I did see it snagging up a snail shell.
Yeah.
But I never actively caught him eating a live one. He was picking up what I looked to be empty ones. Mm-hmm. And then it made me think, did he take it out beforehand? But
right. Wrasses like to pick up shells and move things around and stuff. But I don't know, physically, I know they have these big blue teeth, but I've never seen them actually use it in an aggressive manner. If they could even break a shell. I don't think they could. So you're probably pretty safe.
Yeah. Thank you, Mac.
Deborah says, is it as important to keep water stable with a fish only as it is with corals? Heck no. No, it really isn't. That's why you can do water change, one big water change once a month, let the nitrates and phosphates go up to a reasonable level, and then they drop back down. Mm-hmm. You're not testing alkalinity and calcium and stuff like that. There's nothing growing in there. So as long as it stays within acceptable levels for the fish to be happy and not stressed,
that's one of the things that makes it so much more, so much easier to keep in general, because you're not having to test and maintain these specific levels of trace elements, et cetera. So there's just less maintenance, less tedious work.
And that's why a lot of people have a reef tank and a fish only.
Yeah.
Because, a reef tank takes a lot more care, but you're going to get something out of a reef tank you won't with a fish only. But there's so many fish that are beautiful and you want that can't go in your reef. Mm-hmm. So by having a fish only as well, it's a little bit easier maintenance. You can have a lot of cool fish and stuff in there. So.
Miki says, how much water movement? That's one thing I was thinking of too.
Oh, well, we kept all the equipment from the reef.
Yeah.
Just turn them back a little bit. We have a M2 or L2. I think an L2. A Vectra L2 on there. I'm sure it's probably only running at 15, 20%.
Yeah, very low.
And we kept the MP60s on there too. Because even though you don't have corals, there's a lot of waste. And having enough flow is going to keep that waste suspended and being taken by the filtration. If you have too low a flow, that's settling into your rocks. It's settling on the sand. You're going to have more algae problems.
Yeah.
And I didn't really change the speed on the MP60s much because the fish, they come from reefs. They come from the ocean where there's a lot of flow. And you'll see those Hennyokus were right in the Powerhead. They have no problem with it. So I pretty much kept that flow the same. And you'll see the sand stays clean. The debris go into the filter.
Yeah. Cool.
And Hightower says, which of those fish has your favorite personality? Personality? I'm gonna go with the Tusk.
Yeah.
I like because he's chill. And he's cool. Put us on the spot there.
Yeah, it's a good question. I like Nugget or Nuggy because he just comes up to the tank. He likes shiny things.
You like shiny things?
Very interactive. Yeah, all pufferfish love shiny things. You put a shiny thing next to it.
Yeah. If your hand's in there with a ring, you're gonna get bit, or it's gonna get bit.
Yeah.
It's a good personality on that one.
Yeah.
So there you go. Godfather and Nuggy have taken the win for that question. Is this me? Yeah. Deborah says, are there any of these cool fish only inhabitants that would do well in a smaller tank, like a 3-foot long tank? The smaller little Toby puffer, the saddleback guy, the flame hawk, the bicolor angel. Who else is in there? That's probably it, because the big angel would need something bigger. Hennyokus like to swim a lot. Tangs swim a lot. Tusk gets huge. Puffers get huge. Yeah, so probably those 3 would be your best bet.
And this is, what about cleaning the back panel of the tank?
We do. You see, if you notice on the back, it is pretty much completely clean except the overflow box I did not get to cleaning. My arm fits behind the tank with my little magnet razor. Goes back there. So I always say when you place your tank, keep it away from the wall a little bit more than you think you need to, because reaching back there, to grab wires, to fix things, to clean, is great. So I use that, and then I'll use a scraper on the handle to do the parts that I can't reach because my arm is pretty short still. But yeah, definitely I like keeping the back clean because I think overall the tank looks a lot cleaner. 100%. The overflow box is full glass, so you can actually keep it completely clean and have that really just nice pristine look in the tank.
Big fan of that.
You are a huge fan.
Huge fan. That's why I always, like you said.
I'm pretty sure that's why you demanded that there was a glass overflow box.
It was.
For that.
Like she said, keeping the tank far enough away from the wall that you can actually clean it. I'd like to have all the panels nicely maintained. When they're not maintained, it draws attention away from what you're really trying to look at.
Yeah, that's true. If your back of your tank looks fuzzy.
And I'm even talking about like coralline. A lot of people let coralline grow throughout the back of their tank. To me, it kind of like takes away from the whole appearance. I like it to look as if the reef's floating in this kind of like.
A nice just jet black background.
Yeah.
One more question. Jim says, how far away from the back wall would you suggest keeping the 220? That goes into play really well with what we were just talking about. So the 220 actually is a little close to the wall than I would like. We didn't think about that quite as well as we should have 3.5 years ago when we put it there because my arm just fits. So whenever you're trying to reach a cord or you need to replace a cord or something like that, it is much harder to navigate. I would say if you've got the space, about a foot.
Yeah, like you can actually walk behind the 320.
Yes. The LX right here, we made it so I can walk behind it.
Yeah.
And it's been really nice. But even so, like the frag and all that stuff, we make it so like you can reach with not having to like struggle. You can clean the back. You can kind of reach overflow box and stuff like that. So if you have it, and not every scenario is not going to look right either, foot. But if you can, I'd say probably close to a foot. It gives you a lot of access.
Cool.
Those are good questions.
Very good questions. We appreciate that, you guys. If you haven't already, gently graze the like button, okay?
Don't break a phone.
Yeah, don't break your phone. If you want to, throw an elbow at it.
Go an elbow. I like that one. All right.
Yeah. Just hit it, pop over and subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. Helps us out a tremendous amount.
Awesome.
We appreciate you guys being here.
I think we do have 2 shirts to give away. All right, we have the ready? Yeah. All right, so we have 2 Waterbox shirts to give away. The winners are
Crazy Klutz 06 and McKee Torres.
Woo! Congratulations. Email winners@waterboxaquariums.com and they'll get you all hooked up. I don't say the hard ones. I leave those for you. That's nice.
I appreciate it. You know,
it's nice to stay silent.
It's great. Thanks, Stacy.
That's what Stacy does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So congratulations.
Follow Stacy_Waterbox on Instagram.
Do not make me start an Instagram for Stacy.
We are deleting the Jess. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my God. I'm gonna go bleach my hair now.
These are all the things that happen like minutes before we actually go live to you
Yeah,
guys.
I got renamed Stacy right before we went out live.
Yeah.
So don't miss us. We're here tomorrow.
Yeah.
At 1 p.m. I almost forgot what time. 1 p.m. Doing the LX build, talking about proper nutrition for your fish. And then next week on Wednesday, we're revisiting the ORA build.
Love it.
And we have something major planned, and I'm not telling you, so you have to tune in. And you're going to enjoy what we're doing for the
Looking
ORA
forward
tank.
to it.
Yes.
Cool.
See you then.
Thank you guys. Thank you all for watching. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Remember, you can visit us online at waterboxaquariums.com.
We're live every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for watching. See you next week.